Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of the Stone Genius Podcast. My name's Ro, I'm the Stone Genius. You know me, I'm often stoned, I'm always a genius, and I gotta tell you, I've had some difficulty leading up to this program because as the stoned in the actual name of the program, and then my proclivity to actually smoke during the program gave me some hesitancy leading up to this. We have a guest today. This guest, her name is Becca Jacobson. She is a sobriety and transformation coach. She brings help to high-functioning alcoholics with a no-nonsense solution. She is also the author of Prostitute to Professor, a guide to radical transformation. Welcome to the podcast, Becca.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Happy to be here.
I'm glad that you're here because let's don't jump into that part. Give us a little bit more about yourself. So you're a sobriety and transformation coach. A little bit about what that is and how you became that kind of coach.
Struggling with alcohol for almost my entire life. So I didn't get sober till I was 52, which is like 5 years ago. You do the math. And I was a functioning alcoholic. I was a professor for 20 years, drunk for 15 of them.
Can I ask at the age?
Not while teaching.
Can I ask age that you were introduced to alcohol, that you remember your first drink?
Yeah, 12.
So, as we're getting ready for this, I was trying to remember because the first time I got drunk, I was 22, I think. I'm pretty outgoing, and for me, alcohol always mellowed me out, which no one wanted me to be mellowed out. Plus, I didn't have friends I could trust, so being a designated driver, I would rather get home because then I could be my boy, be myself and not. But I was trying to remember the first drink that I ever had, and I think that the statute of limitations has gone past this, but it was at my friend's house. And this is back in the mid 70s. I think I was probably 10 or 12. I don't think I was in junior high. And I think that's about where 12 gets you into junior high. So I was probably about the same age as you. And they had a liquor cabinet. And, that's forbidden. So, of course, we're going to try it. And I think we tried this thing called Scotch. And,
how did that go?
Well, in the TVs, they make it, that's smooth. There was nothing smooth about Scotch to a 10 or a 12-year-old. In fact, even as an adult, I don't find anything appealing about the taste of Scotch. I mean, my thing is if you have to flavor and Scotch isn't, but I'm thinking about like Fireball and other things, that if you have to flavor your whiskey to get it to be palatable, maybe you get some issues on there. But so I was thinking about this beforehand because if someone was to ask me about my first experience with drinking, I would have thought the first night I got drunk. I remember my mom coming into my room, asking me if I was all right. I said yes. We'd been at a playground and I was covered in sand. I had pockets full of sand, and I'm telling my mom, I'm okay. So that would have been my first recollection of alcohol. But as we're getting ready for this, it was out of a friend's liquor cabinet. I mean, I remember that. I remember it was such an impactful drink that I remember literally everything about it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was crazy. So
I think many of us have the liquor cabinet experience when we're young.
Yeah. I mean, that's just, and I hadn't thought of it because I didn't get drunk. I didn't revisit alcohol for many years after that. So I hadn't thought about that. And that's what I love about doing the show is sometimes I'll talk to a guest and I'll be like, I hadn't thought about that memory in a long time. And it's weird because it's so, I don't remember what I was dressing, but I remember that it was sunny outside. I mean, I remember so much about that day. Just because, and it was because that drink was horrible. Oh my gosh. So you were 12 when you had your first drink. Okay. So what did you think? Did you have a negative reaction like I did?
Oh yeah, I just got sick, really, really sick. So, and woke up. I don't remember. I remember starting the night, not finishing. Woke up I was at my friend's house. We got into the liquor cabinet. Our parents, same story, right? And I just got really sick. And the next morning, her mother, I remember her nursing me and thinking it was hilarious. So,
Oh, and that's
yeah.
that's one of the difficulties too, is how your family reacts to it.
Mm,
Um,
mhm.
that always bugged me as a parent of two now grown girls. I mean, grown children, but I mean, that was always a concern when, like, we had to go out with other parents, and then I'd hear the way they would talk about alcohol or something. I'm like, I'm not sure I want our kids like around that. I mean, it just, I
Mhm.
don't know. So, but so yours was different. So you actually got drunk the first time.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
see, I took a drink and I said, that is so awful. I am not putting that back in my mouth for many years. So mine was different that way. And I don't think we ever talked about, I mean, yeah. So the mom knew.
Yeah.
And oh
Yeah.
my gosh.
She thought it was funny.
Mm.
Um, the thing about yeah, they tell the story of alcoholics that the sort of funny story is, even though it makes us sick, even though it feels awful, even though we're puking, we're like, I'm doing that again. Because yeah, yeah, suddenly I was free, suddenly I could speak. Most of us are pretty um, have some sort of social anxiety, and alcohol greases the wheel, or at least back in the day, right? I don't have
Right.
anything like that anymore, but yeah. So,
And see, that's the weird thing, is that is I was the exact opposite of that, which made
mm,
me great. If I was going to play darts at a bar, I was much better drunk, because it really settled me down and I just got really focused and I got really mellow. But other than that, and I never, to this day, there's not an alcohol that I remember going, oh, that's good. And I remember I've never thought beer tastes good. I've never had a beer, like, drank a whole beer before in my life. And it's funny because my wife doesn't get that. And one day, I forget what it was. It was one of those like margarita beer type things. And she goes, "Try this. It tastes like a margarita." And I've had margaritas before, and as far as alcohol goes for me, it's not bad if I'm eating it with Mexican food, but I'm not going to just sit down and have one. She goes, "Try this." And I tried it. I go, it tastes like someone spilled a margarita into a beer. I go, I just don't understand the appeal of the taste. And I get that as a smoker of cannabis, the smell, there are many different smells. None of them are I actually like them, but to the average nose, the average citizen, I don't think any of them. There's a reason there's not any cannabis colognes out there. I mean, that I'm aware of. I mean, it's just not, and so I can get that. And some people don't like the feel of the smoke going down and things like that. But the difference I've always said is I have never once, no matter how much I smoked, felt bad the next day. But that doesn't, but then I started thinking about, well, why did I smoke so much the night before or whatever? So like it's, that's for another show, because there's a huge debate going on, and there always has been, at least for a while. Not always, has been for a while, between alcohol and cannabis. And as the move for more legalization of cannabis, that's something different. So let me get back to you. So you're a 12-year-old, you're being nursed back to health. So were you aware of the consequence? Had you seen someone that was drunk and the after effects of someone being drunk prior to your initiation?
oh, I don't know. I don't remember. I mean, maybe it wasn't like that was the moment the problem started. That was just my first drink,
Right.
right? It was later on when I started relying on it, and my life my book, as you point out, Prostitute to Professor. So my life after high school went in directions that there was just alcohol and drugs everywhere. And so that was just a part of it, right? And when I wanted to quit, I couldn't.
So
So I think that's really,
did the life lead you to the drugs and the alcohol, or did the alcohol lead you to the drugs, or do you know whether there was even a line of demarcation that you can make a difference between the two?
That's an interesting question. Never thought of that before. I would say probably the life led to, I don't know. No, actually, that's probably not true. I probably would have ended up drinking, over drinking even. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know
Can,
the
can I
answer to
can I
that.
ask whereabouts did you grow up? Because sometimes it's geographical. Because I know that like in more rural locations, often you'll see more alcohol. It's easier to get. It's
Mm.
easier to hide. You go out in a field, whatever. And then you may have different drugs like in a more urbanized setting. So did your geographic location play any effect to your exposure to alcohol?
I grew up rural, well, small city in British Columbia,
Okay.
and then moved to Vancouver, so
Okay.
bigger city. So I don't think it played a role.
Okay.
Although, yeah, you're right. You can hide in the bush. I mean, we did that, right? We had bush parties all the time. So
Well, and I even remember that. I mean, I grew up in suburbia, but when I was in high school, we were literally on the edge of society. Like the next major intersection south of us, and then it was just country after that. And so we used to go out in the country, and I wouldn't, but I mean, they would have drinking parties and stuff in high school. So, we would go, I remember there was a street that valleyed down. So the two major, let's see which, so it would have been capped on the east and the west, but it had a valley down. Somewhere us high schoolers got road closed signs, and we would put them at the end of the street to close that road, because in the valley you couldn't see. We'd go park down there, and everyone that would party, and it was called we'd go, hey, everyone's meeting at 127, which was 127th Street. Well, now 127th Street is like a 6-lane thoroughfare, flagged by or lined with multi-million-dollar homes. So it's very interesting. But yes, so I know that geographically, because you get bored, there's not things to do, in the big city. Let's go to the movies. Rural town, you might not. So geographically, that didn't make an impact. So, but you moved from a smaller rural town in British Columbia into Vancouver. Was the lure of the city? What took you into Vancouver?
I just had to get life. I'd finished high school. I wanted to go live life, start life, the big city. And so I went there looking to figure out what I was going to be when I grow up, I guess, although I thought I was growing up at the time. I tell the story in my book of what happened when I arrived. I stayed with my biological dad, whom had been absent my whole life, and he said I could have a room in his condo. And while I was there, I was looking for work in the newspaper. And every day I'd see the same ad: become an exotic dancer, make $500 a week. And I kept going, ooh, that's a lot of money.
Yeah.
That's a lot of money. And instead, I got a job selling Kirby vacuum cleaners door to door.
Hold on. I know you're not going to be able to hear it, but I have a sad trombone sound for that. So Kirby vacuum, for people that are not aware of Kirby vacuum salespeople, they would be the type that you would go. So this is back in the day, and you'd go to the peephole in your door, because that's how you identify. You didn't have cameras on your friggin' doorbells, so you look through the peephole and you'd be like, "Uh-oh, I better hide now."
Yeah, that was me.
So you decided, I have two options: to either say, I'm going to dance and make a lot of money, or I'm going to be not loathed, that's not the correct term, but I might be a pariah on the block. Like Jennifer
Yeah,
Lopez was Jenny from the block, you'd be the pariah on the block. Up, Kirby salesperson, hide.
yeah, that
Oh my
was
gosh.
me.
So, so as you're an impoverished Kirby salesperson, because I will be quite frank, I've never heard of anything other than an
No,
impoverished Kirby salesperson.
right.
What? How long did you continue down this path of
Oh,
a vacuum salesperson?
it did not last long. And every day I would see the ad: be an exotic dancer, make 500 a week. I think it took me 3 weeks to make my first sale. And I made, I don't know, a couple $100 commission. I can't remember, but it was, I mean, and then I'd see the ad again, and I'd go back and see the ad again. And, you can imagine where that I ended up. I
So,
didn't stay with Kirby very long.
so let me ask you this. As you're going to be a dancer, did you, because especially being Canadian, so I grew up in a very conservative family. I was dating someone from overseas, and I remember we were getting ready to go out one of our first dates, and goes, "Hey, I'm working out beforehand. Can I come over and get ready at your place?" I go, "No problem." So she came over. I was showing her, "Hey, shower's back here through my bedroom. I had the master bedroom. I had a roommate at the time, and I was like, it's back this way." And I'm just telling her this is where all this. She just starts getting undressed, and I'm like, "You're not very shy, are you?" And I remember she goes, "You Americans are so weird about the body." And as soon as she
Right.
said that, I go, we are, because it's not like I don't see someone's body and be like, it's. So that moment stuck in me because Americans are very weird about the body. Like if you, because I think that it doesn't matter what I think. So how in Canada, how was is that something that you all are more conservative? I mean, how are you, when you saw that ad, you obviously were thinking, I don't want to do it for whatever reason. Because
Yeah, it's
you
not.
chose
It,
Kirby.
yeah.
Remember, you chose Kirby. And I'm pretty sure that if you had a magic 8 ball, because it sounds like this is about the time of the magic 8 ball that you would have shook. I could tell you could shake it 100 times and never once would that magic 8 ball have told you to choose Kirby vacuums over being an exotic dancer. That's not
I
what.
was trying to be a good girl. Yeah, I was trying to do the right thing.
Yeah.
Take my
So,
clothes off for a living. You're politely calling it a dancer. Take my clothes off for a living, sell vacuums door to door. It was a hard decision. It was a very hard decision.
so at 3 weeks of getting to your first sale with Kirby vacuums, and
Yeah.
then continually to be hounded. Now, granted, it's not like, so these are the days where you keep mentioning newspaper ad, and some of
Yeah, right.
the people are like, what the heck's a newspaper ad? So, but so you had to see it. So you're still looking for something as you're at Kirby, and you
Yeah.
keep seeing this. So what finally did you go and say, I'm going to see how this whole thing worked? Like, did you do like a scouting session to make sure that you felt safe in this? Or did you just say, hey, I'm going to go take my clothes off tonight?
No, I asked my dad. He was a single man his whole life. He never did the family thing, and I said to him, look, finally I went to him. I said, what do you think of this? And I showed him the ad, and he said, oh yeah, those girls make a lot of money. You could do that. And he said, I'll tell you what, we'll go out tonight and I'll show you around. And he took me we went bar hopping, to the different strip clubs in the Lower Mainland down in Vancouver. And I'd never seen a stripper. To say I was shocked was a little bit, yeah. But he laughed. He thought it was funny when he saw the look of shock on my face, and he bought me some drinks. And go
So,
ahead. I see the question coming. Go ahead.
well, no, the question was going to be like, so what is the level, and I'm sure there's many different ones, but the ones that your dad was exposing to you, what was let me put it this way. So when my wife is from Wichita, Kansas, right before we got married, we moved back there. She was going to finish up college there, so we moved back to Wichita. And I remember we're driving down the street. She's driving. I'm sitting shotgun or next to her in the right. And we're at a light, and she goes, hey, if you would like to know where one of our strip clubs is, it's right here. And she pointed, and I looked, and this is back in the late 90s, and they still had those big signs where you'd use like the plastic letters to stick in to make your billboard. And their slogan was, we're topless, not toothless.
What does that mean?
So, and I'm not kidding, evidently, and I did not go to check this out, but evidently there's a bar where there's a lack of a dental plan, let's say, for the girls ever in their life. So I guess these two were feuding, and back in the day, as opposed to social media now, they were fighting via these billboards. So they were trying to say that the strip club down the street were toothless, and my wife did nothing to dispel that. Actually, the population of Wichita, Kansas did nothing to dispel. If I was seeing girls and I was like, would they be a stripper? the ones that had the least amount of teeth would probably be the ones I would have seen in the club.
Oh, that's awful. Okay.
Yeah. Well, that's yeah. It was not a thing. So the level of class, so what were the strip
There
clubs?
there was one type of strip club.
Oh,
That was
okay,
it.
okay.
And everybody yeah, and it was you take it all off. It was and I worked at them all and traveled around Western Canada for 10 years. Each week you go to a different club. You get an agent, you go to a different club and it was yeah, so
Oh,
that night when my dad
you get
took
an
me
agent?
yeah,
Oh, hold on, hold
that
on.
was who put the ad in the paper. It was an agent who put an ad in the paper. And she took 10%. I actually had a female agent. But to finish the story, the night, so my dad took me around all these strip clubs. I was shocked. I'd never been in a strip club. And, they're completely naked and on the floor, right? And I remember going, "Oh." And I remember him laughing at the look on my face. And this is in my book, and he said to me when he saw the look on my face, he said, "Yeah, it's not a titty show, it's a clitty show."
So let me ask this also. So it was a strip club. So, and I asked this to make the differentiation is that when I would go with guys, we would go like in the late 80s, it was live stage shows. Like
Yes.
there wasn't, you couldn't just pull your phone out and go, oh, look, naked people and you had to go.
No.
And so when
Yeah.
we weren't really watching, and I've been to a strip club. I'm from Tampa, so Florida, which is one of the strip club capitals. I mean, you can't throw a rock in any direction, or I guess in that place, a seashell in any direction without hitting a strip club. But it's, I forgot where I was going with that. Oh, well.
Okay.
It's just so I was gonna say the live stage shows. So we would
Yeah.
go down to see live stage shows. So they were doing acts, not stripping. Were you just stripping at this point? Well, on stage, were you just stripping at this point?
Yes.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, I remember.
Stripping to music. And this is the 80s, so it's pre-internet, pre-phones.
One of the great stories I have about going to one of those clubs is we went downtown Kansas City to a live stage show. And this is like 10 guys back from college. So we all go down there and we're in the back and we're making a lot of noise. However, there's a guy in the front row who is losing his mind. I mean, he is really enjoying the show, like a lot. And from your smile right there, I'm assuming that at one point you had at least one customer or one client, whatever, that was like that. He was enjoying it too much. And when I got a good look of the guy, it was my mom's secretary's husband.
Yeah.
So
That guy was sitting, we called that gynecology row.
oh yeah.
The
So
guys
this
who
is
sat at the front.
yeah.
You're
So
sitting at
this
the
is,
front,
and I'm
yeah.
not kidding. And if people think I'm kidding, this was a real thing back then. Shooting ping pong balls.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so
Mitzi Dupree, her name was. That
So-
was actually one woman did that.
So,
Not-
and maybe she was there, or maybe this person was trying to do something like that, because I swear that anyway, my personality is like most people be like, oh, we got to get out of here. And I was like, I'm going to say hi. So
yeah.
I went up and said hi because we would run into him because my mom worked at a church, which I don't give a shit. I mean, I don't care what he's doing, but I did think it was funny because he obviously gave a shit. Because every time I'd see him, I would just be like, I mean, I would give him something that he knew, like, what were you doing last night? You go out? I mean, so I thoroughly enjoy that. So I'm still trying to wrap your head. I mean, I wouldn't have a problem taking my kids to a strip club. I just don't know. I can't remember if it was Mo, our oldest. I think we talked once about like the Victoria's Secret fashion show was on. And she was like, would you care if I did like Victoria's Secret modeling? I go, no, I wouldn't care. You would ruin that magazine and this TV show for me. I go, but no, I would, as a father, I don't care about that. Do whatever you want. So So I think I'm much like your
Yeah.
dad at that point where, if you're there's consequences. I mean, when you make more money than Kirby Vacuum, there's probably different consequences you'll have to get that higher rate of return. Uh, so you go to strip clubs with your dad. You're drinking. At what point did the bell, the light, whatever go off, and you said, I think I'm done. I'm retiring. I'm hanging up the Kirby Vacuum.
Oh, geez, that 3 weeks.
So, but was that 3 weeks? Was that after you visited the strip club, or was it
No,
three
that was
weeks
it.
and
I
two?
mean, that
So,
yeah, I had been struggling with the Kirby vacuums and looking at that. Finally, I went and said, "What do you think about this?" Because I knew he went to the clubs,
right.
and he said, "It's not a big deal. I'll show you what it's like. Let's go out." And when I was really nervous about the idea, and his advice to me was, "Just remember, it's not a titty show. It's a clitty show." That was my dad's one piece of advice he ever gave me. He didn't say go to college. He didn't say be good. He said,
So,
"So
our youngest, if you ask them, and they said on the podcast before, the best parenting advice I ever gave them was always be prepared for a threesome or an orgy. So I am not dissimilar from your dad in giving very questionable advice to my children. So I mean,
right."
I think it's very helpful. You don't want to be in that situation and have not have thought about it. So I was trying to be I was just trying to be helpful to my children. Okay, so now you've decided. So at any point were you leery about getting on stage? Like I'm very
Yeah, I
comfortable.
very yeah,
Really? Okay.
no. Yeah, no, I was really nervous, and of course, I got through the whole thing with alcohol. So that was you asked earlier, how did this was it the city? Was it that was I had drank through my teens, but that was when the party, if you want to put party in quotation marks, started.
Right.
And I was 18 when I started. I was selling the Kirby vacuums when I was 18, and I was 18, and I quit when I was 32, and drank the whole thing away, and not to mention all the drugs. It was the 80s.
Right.
And I ended up doing obviously more than just dancing. The name of my book is not Stripper to Prostitute. I mean Professor.
Right.
So, yeah,
And is that still about the money at that point, or do you remember,
it
or
was
was it
just well, yeah, it was really good money. It was what I did. I kept planning to, put aside a nest egg and do stuff with it, but the party just kept going, and I was absolutely an addict and an alcoholic, and so it was really quite messy. I never saved any money. I never got anywhere. I finally realized. Well, I shouldn't say I finally realized when I was 32. When I was 32, it was really hard to get booked, to get gigs. It was
right?
like, "You've been around a long time.
Right.
We've got 19-year-olds. Why are you still here?" kind of deal. So, yeah.
So, did you know that was on the horizon?
Oh, yeah.
The end of your career, and did that exacerbate your drug or alcohol use, knowing, well, or not knowing what is going to be after that, whether it was at 30 or when it did happen at 32 and you stopped getting booked? Did that exacerbate your usage?
No, I went to throughout the whole time, I kept trying to get clean and sober. I went to detox 11 times in 10 years. Like, it was an annual event for me. I'd go to the detox, a total disaster, and get cleaned up. And then I'd go back out and get right back into my life. But so in my early 30s, when I realized, okay, I got to do something with my life, I was in detox again, and trying to trying to feel, good. And I decided to go to college, of all things. And nobody in my family went to college. Everyone's like, "You got to be kidding me." Well, it would make sense to us. You're going to go get a straight job or a decent or different job, but why
Right.
college? And I just knew I wanted future. And I had one family member say, "Well, you're going to be like 38 by the time you graduate." And I'm like, "I'm going to be 38 anyway. Might as well have a college degree. What the hell, right?"
Right.
So I went to college. I got some student loans, and made my way through college, still drinking. I could still never got sober, but I managed. I learned how to binge drink. So I went from just drinking all the time to, okay, I got to get this exam. I got to write this essay. I'm trying to get a bachelor's. Then later I'm at grad school, and And so, but I still struggled with alcohol. The
So
drugs I got rid of, but yeah.
so the binge drinking was that. So when you're talking about binge drinking, and I'm not much of a drinker, so you're talking about instead of having alcohol readily available all throughout the day or partaking in that, you were more of, I need to stay sober for this amount of time. But then instead of, I'm taking what used to take me 12 hours to drink, I'm packing that into 4 or 5 hours. Is that kind of what binge drinking is?
W no, it's,
Okay.
for me, what I'm talking about is staying not drinking for, like, Monday to Thursday or Friday or whatever, and then just going nuts all weekend. Or if it's a long weekend, drinking the whole thing away, or vacations and holidays. So it's just using any free time you have to just drink like crazy, and then you're sick when you get back. It's a horrible, horrible binge drinking is awful because you're
So
always on this up and down roller. You're either drunk or sick. You're almost never feeling good.
So what's the appeal to that? I get, and I
It's just
guess
addiction, no
just the
appeal.
addiction. Okay. And
Oh,
that's
it's
it.
just addiction.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's the, so that's a conversation that I've had with people about dependency as opposed to addiction. Um,
Yeah.
like I know I could give up cannabis, but my body has gotten to the point, like at 56, I didn't think I'd make it this long, so I was not very kind to my body. I mean, I was climb a tree to get a ball out of it as a kid. Why climb down out of the tree when you can jump out of the tree? So I have arthritis and things. So I am dependent on it to feel good, but I also I don't I don't know. And see, this is where I have that trouble because I remember when my dad and I was adopted, his mom was an alcoholic. And then his dad remarried and was raised by a stepmom, but he was literally thought if anyone had one drink, they could become an alcoholic immediately. And maybe they can't. I don't know. But that's what I grew up listening to.
Okay.
So I was pretty anti alcohol, but when I did start drinking, I was home from school and I was staying with them, and I was staying in their basement. We had a little mini fridge down there. So in the back of the mini fridge, I hid a bottle of whiskey because we had bought it, me and some guys, we had been drinking. I hadn't finished it. I did it. And my dad, he found it and he goes, "Are you an alcoholic?" So accuses me, "Are you an alcoholic?" I go, "No." And he goes, "Well, that's what an alcoholic would say."
Yeah, he's right.
And I'm just like, at that point, I was like, I can't win this. So I was just like, I go, well, I'm whatever I guess you're going to think I am at this point. But has anything, so I wasn't. I mean, I think I probably ended up pouring the bottle out at some point anyway, because I just wasn't much of a drinker, but I also was not much of a waster. I didn't want to just waste. But I just never, I remember my dad seeing, I mean, and my sister has had issues when she was young with alcohol. And so I think that scared me a lot too, which helped, which I think is why I ask, I may have asked earlier, like your familiarity with alcohol previous to that first night at that friend's house. So I kind of would get scared. Like I would see what was going on with my sister. I'd be like, I don't want that going on in my life. As my wife calls me, I'm a princess. So I want everyone else to shelter me and take care of me. So now you're in school. Did you know as soon as you decided that you wanted to go back to college, did you know what you wanted to do in college?
Yeah, I wanted an English degree.
You did. And why did you want said English degree?
Because I was a reader and a writer my whole life. I'd sit with a bottle of vodka and a good book. That was what yeah. And I was a writer. So I'd write everything.
Well, and
And it's like, yeah,
well, I had
I
written
loved
it.
great literature and I wanted to study it.
So I had written down the note about writing because writing a book, it's not easy. Like I am
No.
able to write notes for things I have found interesting. In my 300 plus shows with probably 150 plus different guests, there's only one that I ever canceled. I just couldn't get into. I couldn't get the material wasn't there. I need to be, and that's what's great about my job is I get to find out maybe who wants to be on my show or whatever, or a lot of people I just reach out to because I'm interested in them. So it makes it very easy to write, but it is very hard for me to write something. I don't know if value is not the right term. So as an English major, you wanted to go learn about so you're reading and you're writing things down, but did you ever, at that point, did you go, I can turn this into a book? I mean, I have book material. I have life stories that need to be told, or did that come later on?
No, that came later. I thought about it, but I didn't write it much. I wrote, yeah, a little bit. I dabbled, but I actually wrote my memoir just in the last 2 years.
Was that
Um,
cathartic
yeah,
for you in any way to do that
yeah, it was
memoir?
massive,
It was.
amazing. Yeah, yeah. I was shocked. I knew it was going to be, but it was way more powerful even than I imagined. And I tell this to the people that come into my world. I talk about it. Is that if your if your past is like this thing that you have shame or guilt or remorse around, writing it is one of the most powerful things we can do. And I didn't realize how powerful that was until I actually did it. Then I had to decide, and I didn't write it to share. I wasn't going to publish it. I was just writing it. Then it was like, maybe I should share this story with people. Maybe I should put it out there. And that was even more cathartic. So,
What was the
yeah.
first story that you wrote down that you really felt, oh, okay, this is not personal anymore. This is when was that? Do you remember the story of
Yeah.
what was that story?
The one that came down first that was me and my mom. So my mom had an escort service called Gentleman's Escorts, and I worked for her periodically. This is the first story in my memoir. And she and I would go on calls together. So, there'd be like a stag party or someone's getting married, all the bachelors the night before the wedding, and they call in a couple of girls, and it would be me and my mom would go. She was in her mid 40s, I was in my mid 20s, and we'd go together and do the call. And a couple of a lot of it's a blur. I mean, I was just drank so much, but this one night in particular stands out in my mind. So I wrote that story, and then that led me to write about how and why ended up with an escort service and working it, and the whole, yeah. And I learned about her and my relationship with her when I wrote that. It healed my relationship with her, even though she was dead already. It was
So,
amazing.
at what age were you that you learned that your mom had an escort service? Because I feel so. Let me back up because I feel now when I
Forgot that part.
well. So here's the deal. So my wife and I met. She got pregnant maybe 2 weeks after we met. So we were going to tell her parents, and she was super nervous. We were in Kansas City. We had a 3-hour drive to Wichita. She was super nervous to tell her parents that she was pregnant out of wedlock with someone she just met a couple months ago. Still iffy on my last name, probably at this point. So we go down there. She tells them, and this is a day trip for us. So we were going down and coming back the same day, 6 hours round trip. So go down there, tell them, and when we leave, either she did or I said, well, that went better than expected. Because I was kind of stressed out. I think I probably had met them at this point, but only probably briefly. So, hello. So as we're driving back, I go, well, that went better than expected. And she goes, well, I guess I should have expected that because my mom had Brian, her brother, before they were married. And I'm just like, that would have been nice to know. I mean, because I'm thinking they're very religious. So I'm thinking they're going to freak out that they had a child before they were married. So my tie into your story is I'm thinking, oh, your dad's taking you to strip clubs. And you're like, oh my gosh, people get naked and pay for this. And then hold on, I have a record scratch real quick that you can't hear, but your mom has an escort service. I feel like that should have been a little closer to the lead. Like not
Is
buried.
that
I mean, not the lead, but maybe not buried from the lead.
no, it came later, it came later.
So you
So
did
I was 18 no, she wasn't doing it yet. I
okay,
was 18 when that whole thing with my dad, my real dad, and
right,
they weren't together. They're in
right.
different cities. And my mom opened the escort service when I was about 22, I guess. And I knew about it. She talked to me about it. She said, "Here's what I'm thinking about doing." And I'm like, "Well, go for it.
Did
What do you
she
got to
say?
lose?"
Did she say I have been waiting for you to move out of my house so I could start this business and you go live with your dad?
No,
Okay. So,
no, no.
so do you know what made her think?
Yeah.
Was it money as well?
Yeah, she was a a telephone operator. You know, the kind that sat there with the headphones they showed in the movies and sticking the old things in the "Your number, please. Your
Yes.
number, please," all day long. That was her job. And she just got fed up. She just said, "You know what? I need to make some real money and put away a retirement fund, and this is what I'm going to do." And I'm like, "Well, go for it."
As you were saying, I'm like, I can make a lot more money allowing someone put something in me. There's a snare drum on the backside
Ah,
there. Hey-o, sticking things in
right.
holes. Hey-o. So
Okay.
so
Woohoo.
when she told you that, like, I'm pretty okay. Like if my like I want my family to be happy. I want them to be safe, and I want them to know that there are always consequences to everything. And generally, the
Right.
bigger, the shinier the object. I always say this: growing up in Florida, it would be amazing to have a beachfront house. But now that's amazing, but now you're also exposed to hurricanes and things like this. So you could lose everything as well. So I always go, you got to know that there's two sides to every coin, but do what makes you happy. And at my age now, at 56, and I told this to my wife yesterday on the way home from church. Do you remember the movie The Full Monty? It was about a whole
Yeah,
bunch of old
totally.
old men
Yeah.
who lost their jobs, and then they did a
British
strip.
guys.
Yeah, they did a strip thing, and that was before the dad bod and everything was even acceptable. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I think we could clean up at this point. I mean, I don't know what it would be, and I'm sure there would be walkers and the overwhelming smell of like Bengay or like icy hot, on joints to keep us. But that's besides the point. So I would do that, and I would do that in a heartbeat. What I would have done at 20 for $1 million has definitely changed to what I would do now at $1 million.
What you do.
I know.
Okay.
So like if someone offered me $1 million now, I'm not even sure I'd ask what. I'd be like, how long and is it only once? That'd probably be my only two questions. So your mom. God, I wish I would have had this conversation with my mom. My mom is awesome, but this would have made her a lot more interesting in my book. So your mom, and she's querying you about that. She's asking you whether she hasn't done it yet. She's saying, I have an
Oh,
idea.
yeah. Well,
And
she
so
knows I'm out there in the world of exotic dancing,
did you
and
ever
she
feel
knows
like
that
you
there's
needed
more that
did you ever have to hide that from her? Did you ever feel the need?
no,
No. Okay.
no, no.
Did you ever
And
feel
she
any
knew that there
shame?
was more going on,
Sorry,
later.
because I knew someone when I was in Florida. I had a roommate, and she started working at a strip club, and unexpectedly, her uncle came in town, stops at our place. Where's she at? Where's she at? I go, she's at work. Oh, where's she working? I'm gonna go surprise her. I'm like, I gotta go with this one. So I went, but it was like, it was shame. I was like, like. Actually, I didn't mind seeing it happen. Sometimes I like seeing things implode around me. If it's gonna implode, I might as well be there to witness it. So anyway, there was a lot of shame.
Might
Like
as well.
they didn't want to tell them. So you never felt that once you made the commitment to strip, then
Yeah,
okay, that's awesome.
yeah.
Yeah. And I will tell you, I understand that. I'm not sure that a lot of people would. Like a lot, I think that like my wife would have a lot. She'd be like, I would still be like, I wouldn't want people to know. I've always wanted her to, I've said, we should make a sex tape sometime. I go, we're beautiful. I go, people would buy it. She goes, I don't want people we know to see it. And I go, do you think they would tell you? Like if they found our video and they bought it, thank you very much, would they go, hey, guess what? We saw you. So it's not going to, so I don't understand the shame part if you've decided to do it. So I commend you for saying, I want money. I need money. I'm sorry that there are other things that were involved. It sounds like with the lifestyle. I did want to ask this and circle back real quick about the money, because you said you wanted to set away a nest egg that you never did. As a stripper, and it's been 30 years, no, 28 years, something like, since I've been to a strip club. I remember the girls that worked there didn't seem to buy many drinks for themselves. And then,
No, you didn't have to buy your
and then
drinks.
if you were doing a prostitute, I would think, because I've had a madam and courtesan and women that have worked in the sex industry on the podcast before. So I know that sometimes they'll get trips paid for or whatever, depending on what they're doing. So what was it the alcohol and the drugs that was whittling away at the nest egg? Because to me, it seemed like you were getting your drinks and things paid for. So what happened to that money?
Yeah. Yeah, it was just my inability to control alcohol and drugs.
Okay.
And, you could assume that everyone was like that, but it's not true. A lot of the women that I worked with were family people. They have children. I never had children, and homes and lives. And I was just a mess because of addiction.
Yeah. So from Reno, Nevada, I've had a legal courtesan and madam on the podcast a couple of times, Liv LaRue, and we've talked. She has a normal job. She has what we would call a career as well. I mean, it's very.
Yeah.
And I think that's very. I mean, I thought it was always very interesting. So you didn't put the nest egg away. You're now, so I'm jumping ahead. I need to back up to your mom for a second. And that is a weird phrase I just uttered, back up to your mom. Anyway. So your mom starts this and you're about 22. Is that what you said when she started?
Yeah.
And how soon was it
around there
before you started working or participating with her?
Oh, just as soon as she started getting calls. She was a little bit worried because she was like 46, I think, and she's, they're going to want younger. Turns out that most men don't mind. That it didn't seem to make much difference. She was a very beautiful woman at 46, and yeah. So the night in question, they were having a stag party. They wanted more than one girl, so I'm like, I'll go with you. So we went together. And my stepdad drove us there and waited for us in the parking lot.
That
So, right. Yeah.
Wow. I'm trying to think about the strangest my mom and dad in the car and where we may have been going or what the situation would have been. And I could tell you it was not to a stag party. Being to work there with one of my parents. Oh my God. My dad doing like a Thunder from Down Under. the full Monty. Hold on, I got a sound for that. The sad trombone sound comes out for that. So, okay. So once again, we're talking to Becca Jacobson. She is a sobriety and transformation coach. I almost said transportation coach, which is a totally different type of coach. You're also the author of Prostitute to Professor, A Guide to Radical Transformation. And that's what we've been talking about. I will also tell you that a couple times, the first time I wrote that down, I wrote it down wrong. So I try to make sure I wrote down a radical guide to transformation, which when I read, I was like, is there a difference? And there's not just is there a difference in the wording, but I was like, oh, that's a huge difference because it's the radical transformation. So,
yes.
So let's jump forward back up to your college years.
Okay.
So you're now winding up college. You're going to have this English degree. Is the book any of you wanting to write and get this word out? Any of it on the horizon yet at this point?
Not yet, no. So I'm 38 when I graduated from grad school. So I'd already had my bachelor, went off to grad school, and at the end of grad school, I started looking for work, and I found a job in a smaller town community college, and yeah, moved there, started teaching in the fall of '04, and I'm still there right now at this moment in the building 20 years later. This is the same building. I'm retiring this year. And
Congratulations. I know you can't hear the studio audience is going crazy and applauding for you right now. So, but
I will add, I want to add, I'm taking early retirement this
well,
year to go to coach full time. So for the last couple of years, I've been doing both, coaching people and women and online. But anyway, the book, you asked about the book. So the book came on the horizon just 2 years ago. I
just
started
two
writing
years
it, and
ago.
it
So
yeah, and I just published it earlier this year.
So I guess because I also jumped forward to because you had mentioned that you were still a high functioning alcoholic as a professor as well. Correct. So
Yeah.
now,
I,
so we haven't even got to that point. So now you're out. You've moved to a small town to be a professor at a college, and
yeah.
you at any point when you got, it was funny, you had mentioned the many times that you had tried to stop. Well, I used to
Yeah.
be a smoker of nicotine, like 30
Yeah.
years ago. And I used to always tell people quitting was never my issue. It was the not restarting again that was my issue. Because I quit like 20 times.
Yeah.
It was easy to quit. Hey, I quit. 20 minutes later, I was smoking again. So it was always so
Yeah.
I was very familiar with that because that was an addiction for me. Like that, I literally couldn't go with, I'm sure I could have, but my body was telling me, you need to have nicotine. And so I literally tried for 12 years to quit. And then I finally quit. I spent more years trying to quit smoking than I actually had smoked up to when I had committed to
Yeah.
quitting smoking.
Yeah.
So you moved to a small town. As a high functioning alcoholic, does that also mean that you are camouflage? Are
Yeah.
you visible, or are you? I mean, do people ever?
No.
They don't. Okay.
Well, you're hiding. You're doing everything in your power to hide it. But alcohol is a progressive disease, and alcoholism, I mean, and it gets worse and worse and worse. And near the end, yeah. And at the end in 2018, I actually missed. I went into an 8-day blackout and missed a week of work. I lost 8 days of my life. I don't remember them. I started drinking and came to 8 days later. My husband said I was just drinking the whole time. And I hadn't been to work, so I had to phone in, and they're like, "Where the hell are you? You're supposed to be teaching classes." And I'm like, "I need help." That was the first time I said the words out loud. I need help. And
So let me
I went
ask
on sick leave. Yeah,
on your
long
with
time.
your husband. Was he a drinker during this time? Did he? He was not.
Oh,
So
no.
how did he?
He's a cannabis user, but he
That
doesn't
it?
drink.
Huh. I'm a cannabis user. I mean, and,
I know you are.
uh, I mean, so how was he able to handle or address your drinking, or how did that affect your relationship?
Well, it survived, but it wasn't easy. It was incredibly difficult for him, although he's one of the kindest men I've ever met, and he just worried about me. He didn't get angry or try to change me. He just wanted me to feel better and tried to help, and he couldn't. So he just tried to make sure I was safe. It was really, really painful.
Yeah. During that 8 days, do you know, did he try to?
Yeah, he tried to sober me up. He tried to get me to stop drinking. I was in a blackout, and I would be quite violent, quite loud, and I'm like, "I need a drink. I need a drink." And he's like, "No." And we live like 7 minutes from the liquor store.
Uh-huh.
And he said that I was grabbing the keys, and I'm like, "Fine, I'll go." And he's like, "I can't let her drive."
Right.
Like, I'm deliriously, and so he drove me to the liquor store, and then he feels guilty for that, and then he's like, "Well, I got 2 choices. I drive her to the liquor store, or she's gonna drive and kill herself." So, I put him in a horrible position. This went on day after day after day, and I don't remember any of it because I wouldn't pass out long enough to sober up to come out of the blackout. I talked to the doctor, he said I was in a total psychosis, like, it was but it was like, they talk about hitting a bottom. Well, that was my bottom. It was like, that had to happen because I've been sober ever since.
Well, and so here's one of my biggest notes that I'd written was about hitting rock bottom.
Yeah.
Which some of them, which you already answered, were you aware while you were in it? Which it doesn't sound like you were, because that was the other. Does rock bottom come after you're sober? I mean, meaning like clear of mind, not like not drinking anymore, but not drinking for that minute. Because I've heard people that are drinking and then they're, I need to get help, that I'm out of control, whatever. And then when they get sober, then it's not an issue. So I'm wondering if the reverse has to work where they're so out of it that they have to be like, that was the wake up call. Like, because I can't, it sounds like you were not aware. You were blacked out for 8 days. So it sounded
I
like
was.
until you were sober. And then,
It
d-
was well, I wasn't sober, though. I mean, I just stopped came out of the blackout. I
right.
was
Okay.
so sick. I mean, my hair was matted and my face was dirty. I hadn't done any personal hygiene. I was sick. I was shaking. I hadn't eaten. I was on the verge of a seizure and a heart attack. And I was so unbelievably sick. And I realized I'm gonna lose my whole career here. Like it's time to surrender. And I phoned them and I just said, I need help. And from that moment on, help arrived. I was taken to the hospital and then I went to treatment, a residential treatment center. And from there, I had to take it on myself, my sobriety, and look after it and grow it. And I've been sober ever since. But I couldn't do it the easy way. I couldn't just, I'm gonna quit. I had to hit this ridiculous bottom.
Yeah.
It's the nature of my addiction, I guess.
I had a friend who's since passed away, but he had given up alcohol a few years prior to him passing, and he had talked about, and I didn't ask him. It was if he wanted to share it with me, he would have. But he said you have to personally hit rock bottom. No one can tell you. Like your husband, like if you would have come out of that blackout, I'm assuming that there's nothing. If you didn't feel like you needed help at that point, there's nothing he could. Your behavior was that nothing he could have said would have made any difference. And
Because he
sometimes,
tried before.
yeah,
I mean, I'd done I'd never been that low, but I'd had other blowouts
right.
and just, "Oh, no, I'm good, I'm good. I got this, I got this." He's like, "No, you don't. You don't have." I'm like, "Yeah." So you have to, it is your friend is right. At least that's my experience.
Yeah. Yeah, and that was, and he had, um, his wife had passed away from cancer when when their son was like 6 months old, and then he had finally given up drinking as his son was getting into his about his teenage years, and then found out he had cancer, and he passed within like 6 weeks. And that's been a
Wow.
couple years. I mean, it was very tragic, but for me, I saw a tremendous change. He used to be my roommate when this guy Ryan. He was my roommate when I met my wife, and I didn't know him real well beforehand. We became roommates. The guy I'd lived with died in a car accident. These people that were mutual friends, they needed roommates, so that's how I moved in. So I knew of Ryan, but I didn't know him real well. But I would see him through the course of time, and I knew he wasn't doing well. I mean, you could see he would have the shakes. His complexion didn't look well. He just was not doing well. And I knew when he had given up alcohol because I went in. He worked where we took our car. He helped run the mechanic shop that we go to, and I could tell his physical presence had changed when he had given up alcohol. I go, "You look great," and that's when he was proud too. He was like, "I gave up alcohol." I was like, "That's awesome, man. That is so cool." But I saw that physical change in him. So you gave up. You get to the point where you give up alcohol. You go through the treatment plan. Did you start noticing changes in yourself? Just like I saw from the exterior, Ryan, how
Yeah.
he changed. Did you see your complexion, how you felt? I mean, was a person different in the mirror?
Absolutely, absolutely. Completely different. Physically, that happens very quickly, but the last 5 years have been, I'm completely different person. steps, and the transformation just keeps happening. More and more change every year that goes by. So the stuff that I've learned about myself, about life, about recovery is alcohol keeps us addiction keeps us small, emotionally immature, unable to cope. It's yeah, and to spend your whole entire adult, I was 52 when that happened. So I hadn't grown like I should have.
Right. Yeah. I
Just
mean,
like I'm
I can
yeah.
understand that stunting of a growth process because you lose that. I mean,
Yeah.
um, so as you come out of residential treatment, you mentioned that your husband's a cannabis user. So and I'm not familiar with all the steps of programs and things like that, and what they ask you to do or what they ask you to eliminate and things like that. Was that did he continue to use cannabis? I mean, how did that interact, or did it at all as you came home?
Absolutely no problem. I stopped using cannabis in my teens. I just didn't like it. Just wasn't my thing, like you and alcohol. And
Yeah.
so, and he's always smoked cannabis since the day I met him in the 90s, and it's fine. As
Hold
long as
on.
he's outside, because I don't like the smell.
So I'm having the crowd go crazy for your husband as well. So yeah. So because that's the thing. Like, if I had to give up cannabis for whatever reason, or decided I wanted to give up cannabis for any reason, there wouldn't be, like, I have that discussion a lot. Like, a lot of people say cannabis is a gateway drug, and it could be for some people. But I don't. To me, it isn't, because I use cannabis. I literally don't want to do anything else. Maybe DMT, but that's the god, whatever. So that's a different, but that's more about not about using the drug, but the experience whatever. So as long as he's away, that it's not a problem. Like, I mean, you're
No,
not.
no,
I mean, but not only, like, not that you don't want to partake in that. Did you ever feel any jealousy? Like, I had to give up
no,
drinking, but he doesn't have to give this up. Okay.
no, not at all. I really enjoy being sober and clean. I love it. I'm not jealous. I'm fine. And yesterday was Father's Day, and I brought him home a little package, some gummies and a couple of joints, and from the store, and he was happy.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
Yeah.
So, and you'd said that you're so much happier now. What's the one area that you feel like it changed your life the most?
Shame. It's gone.
It is. So
Yeah.
is that and that's a weird question, because if you're feeling the shame, why would you go back to that behavior? That's one, but it's the illness, isn't it? I mean,
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
addiction. Because to me,
Yeah.
like, I always try to think of things, and I am very lucky that I don't have. Well, I don't want to say an addictive personality, because, like, if you ask my wife about, like, podcasting or certain things I've done in my life, I probably was addicted to, like, when I played golf, I was very addicted to the sport, learning, and it was more physical. But, like, for chemicals and things like that, I've never had the want or desire or need. I don't know why it's been like that. My parents, I think, in the 70s, they very religious, which is fine. They tried to stoke the fear of God into me. I mean, I was terrified to try marijuana the first time. And when I did that in Colorado in 2014, it changed my life. I was like, my stupid
That's how
parents.
late you started?
Yeah,
Holy
exactly.
cow.
Yeah. Uh-huh. Yeah. 10 years.
Wow.
Oh, I should be having a party for this. I need to find out. Oh, I'm totally going to do that. Yeah, it was 10 years ago. We went out to visit some friends in Colorado, and it was legal there. And so we actually told our kids, you all need to go to the mall. Here's a car. Go to the mall with their kids. And that's when people still went to the mall. And I go, we're all going to go try the dispensary. So my wife had smoked in college, but she didn't really enjoy it, the experience. I had never even tried it. So I decided I'm going to try it. I remember going in. It was the Bud Depot in Lyons, Colorado. I hope they're still around. I went in, and whoever helped me, I told the guy, I have really bad arthritis. And I remember him looking at me and goes, dude, you don't have to have arthritis. It's legal. And I just kind of laughed because well, I really do. I'm trying to, and he gave me a gummy. Actually, I think it was a chewable. I don't think it was a gummy. And I took it. And after about an hour, so I grew up having my parents be anti-drug and alcohol. And then also I grew up, I was 12 when the Cheech and Chong movies were coming out. So I always thought, I didn't know I wasn't around people that smoked. I didn't know any better. So I just assumed that if you smoked marijuana or you had THC, that's how you acted. And so I remember my wife asking me after about an hour, she goes, "How do you feel?" I go, "I don't feel anything." I go, "I don't feel any pain in my hands." And that was the only thing. I didn't feel modified. I didn't feel changed at all. I just didn't have any pain in my hand. And then after that, because of the arthritis, I had a lot of swelling in my hands, and it started to go down. And that's when my wife, so it's funny because some people don't want to believe me, like, because I'm pro cannabis and I smoke cannabis, no, we're not going to really listen to you. But they'll listen to my wife because she does not smoke. She doesn't eat gummies. She doesn't like it at all, but she is well aware of the therapeutic benefits that I get from it. So she is a huge champion of it, which I love that. I mean, and that she is on board with that but much like you, it's not her favorite smell. I can tell by her face when I walked in if I left the door open too much when I was outside smoking from the look on her face. So, so at 52, you get sober, you've changed. How's this affected your relationship as well with your husband? So you've gone through your residential, you come home, you're enjoying your personal life. How's your change? Before we get to your husband, how's it change your professional life?
Oh, well, yeah, amazing. I mean, I can just come to work and I'm not sick, and I'm not hiding. I mean, everything is just so much easier when you're not either sick or, yeah.
So
It's great.
were your students able to tell a change from you when you got back? Like, were they like, "Oh, this is a
No,
dirt"?
well,
I mean, not
I
like
have
that, but like the
I have different.
presentation and things.
Um, I doubt it. I mean, I don't have students. The longest they stay here is 2 years,
Okay.
so they wouldn't even notice. Yeah, colleagues. Yeah, I think maybe. But I became more outgoing. I was always hiding. I was always run away, like come in, do what I have to do, and get the hell out of here because, well, to go have a drink mainly,
Yeah.
but also because I wasn't feeling well all the time. But yeah,
Uh,
I can't remember what the rest of your question was.
it was going to be about your husband, how it changed your
Okay.
relationship with your husband. Did you all? I'm sure he noticed a change, but I just when you got out of treatment and you got home, how did that change your relationship with your husband?
I'm hesitating to tell you this, but I might as well tell you this. After 8 weeks in treatment, and I was a week before that, so 9 weeks I was gone, I arrived home drunk. It's in the book anyway. Um, I don't know, something inside of me, I came out of there and I thought, screw them. They're not going to tell me what I can't drink. And I drove straight to the liquor store. And yeah, to say he was upset and disappointed is an understatement. I arrived home with passed out, and the next morning sobered up, and that was the last drink. It was just like I had to prove. It was almost like I had to say, "I'll drink if I want to." It's so ridiculous. And then maybe you're right. I don't want to drink, and yeah. But anyway, the question about my relationship. He's just. I'm just very, very blessed. He's my second husband. My first husband was trying to beat the alcohol out of me. He just loves me to death and just wanted me to be safe and happy. And so that's it. He's just happy that I'm happy.
That's awesome.
And yeah,
Yeah.
very, very, very blessed.
Yeah. I mean, and that means my wife and I have been together for 28 years now. And our relationship, like I said, ours started weird. So, we met, we literally had a baby 9.5 months after we met. And we're at 20. So And so here's the thing. She does not like to talk. I commend her. I applaud her. She did 70 episodes. We used to have a show. We still have a show. We just haven't put out any episodes recently, called The Longest One Night Stand with Bobby and Roe.
Oh,
And
cool.
because it was weird because, we almost immediately found out she was pregnant. I mean, within a month, she had a, doesn't matter. So we found out that she was pregnant. So we weren't going out to bars. We weren't doing the things that 20-year-olds typically do when they're courting. And then, we had a 1-year-old. She was 1 year and 2 days old when we got married. So she's in our wedding photographs and everything. And we've been together 28 years. So our lives have changed so much during that. And we're starting to get to court. So it's kind of weird. It's like the Benjamin Buttons. We're doing things in reverse, but we're fine with that. And, it's really important to have someone that loves you more than anything else. I mean, that's the one thing that I have with Bobby is I know, and I mentioned about knowing the good and the bad. That's one reason I love and I talk about her and I just so enamored with her is like, ever since I met her, and I tell the same story about the way that I met her, God, the universe, whoever you want to call it, he was like, that's the one, don't do anything to fuck this up. So I'm very aware. I try to be very aware of not fucking things up. Um,
That's beautiful. I'm happy for you. I have something similar, so
yeah, it can make no matter what you're going through, no matter how impossible it seems, which you may have been there at some point. The love, knowing that the love's on the other side is pretty amazing. I wanted to jump ahead to a couple things because we spent a lot more time. I think that the dad taking you to the strip clubs, followed by the mom opening a. Was it a brothel or was it a
no,
escort service?
she just
An escort service. Okay,
service.
escort service. So, because there were a couple other things I wanted to ask about, and as we're talking about with alcohol, I think it was from February of 2024. There was an Unshackled Women's, the Unshackled Woman, an interactive boot camp to help reprogram the subconscious. I wanted to ask you a little bit about that. What came to the idea of doing this interactive boot camp, and then was it a one-time thing, or is this something that you're planning on having again, or did I miss it and it
Yeah.
has been happening?
No, that was amazing, and I actually did a few of them. And I am planning some for the future. Right now, I don't have one planned in the near future, but I will be doing them again. Yeah, it was really amazing. We got together for a week, showing up once a day on Zoom. I would give them some homework to do and help them get their sobriety started, share stories, share experiences, and just help people get their sobriety off the ground. It depends on what level you're at. Like, I mean, if you're as sick as I was, you're going to need more.
Right.
Right. So you're not, so I had to be medically detoxed and that. But a lot of people, that's why I focus on functioning alcoholics, because most of us, or most of them, I should say, I guess, aren't going to need to be medically detoxed. They are functioning. They're just drinking too much, and it grows and it gets worse and worse. And so a little bit of help to get that started.
Can I ask, what is medically detox? What does medically detox mean?
It means that if I would quit drinking in a cold turkey, I'd probably seizure, maybe heart attack, because the body actually needs it after a while.
Oh,
So you
wow.
have to go into the hospital and they're monitoring your vitals and they don't wean you off alcohol. They give you, some kind of drugs or whatever that keeps you calm for a few days. It takes about 5 days
Okay.
for the body to settle. Yeah.
Okay. So on the reprogramming of the subconscious, I think that's awfully difficult for the subconscious. So what's on a high level overview, what's the most important thing if someone wants to start thinking about this and knowing whether they start researching information on how to reprogram the subconscious, what do you think might be one of the first things they should look at?
Oh boy, I have a list of really good books.
Now, where can I want to bring up BeccaJacobson.com as well, because I was going to bring up some things. Would that be a place they might be able to find a list of these books?
I haven't put them there yet, but that's a good idea. Yeah, I'll make
Oh,
note of
well,
that.
you're welcome. Now, so I wanted to ask because I have gone to other. So we if you think of an answer that we can come back to it, but I wanted to ask you, since I've just brought up BeccaJacobson.com, you have Becca's Bold Blurbs, which looks like
Mm.
that. Is that a Monday through Friday? Is that a 5-time? Okay, so that's what it looked like. So the one that the day I saw, it was 3 goals, and you gave us 30 seconds to come up
Oh, okay.
with 3 goals. And so I have my my 3 goals. So I did
Oh,
this.
cool.
So I was going to, and I don't know whether this helps, condemns me. I don't know what this does. So
I'm dying to hear. Tell me
so
what they are.
so my 3 goals are to always make sure Bobby's happy, whatever that
Oh,
means.
wow.
Because at 56, I am very well aware that I count them in summers now. I said that a few years
Yeah.
ago. I think I had 20 summers left. I think I'm at the end of this summer. I'll be down to like 16.
No.
I
See, you're programming your subconscious to shut down in 16 years. Now, why would you want to do that, Ro?
I don't, but I also am very well aware of my physical. Someone's going to find my skeleton at some point and go, "What on earth happened to this person?" And they're going to feel they're going to give me more pity than this person deserves. They really are. So my big thing is to make sure that Bobby is happy, and that whether that's being the best husband, being the best father, being the best housekeeper, whatever I can do. And it's not going to be the same. And I know that day to day it changes. It may be one day that she's blessed by me just because I emptied the dishwasher, and she may have been thinking, "Oh, I don't want to empty the dishwasher when I get home." Just something. So number 1 was keep Bobby happy. So number 2 was the Stone Genius sustainability. I really want to. I've tried to make this show stand on its own, so I don't have to do anything extracurricular than just doing the show, and I'm almost to that point. And the third one I've been talking about for years, and it's start a cult. And I know that's going to have a bad connotation to it because I want it to be like a happy cult. I want it to be like good people that don't put up with shit, and there's no douchebaggery happening within the confines of the cult. So much so that our oldest daughter, who probably would be a great leader after I'm gone. She once bought me a T-shirt with the Kool-Aid Man on the front. It just says, "Let's start a cult." So now all I have to say about that is, oh yeah. So those were my 3 goals. Keep Bobby happy. Get this sustainability, which really will. I love doing this, and that's what's. And that's what interested me about your story is when you find something that you love and you do, and you're able to do it now and experience it in the state of mind, being sober, you're able to experience your life so much more abundantly than it sounds like you used to. And I feel like most of the time when you go out in the public, you interact with people that you may not necessarily 100% want to.
Mhm.
Doing this podcast, I get to reach out to people like you. I get to hear stories. I get to talk to people that have real life stories that I'm interested in. And I tell this after 320 plus episodes, my audience is very well aware that I do this show for me. They are very secondary. Sorry guys, but they are very secondary to the program. I love being able to talk to people like you. I want to be able to know how other people have grown through their lives, how maybe changes that they've made, whether they're small and maybe seem insignificant, or whether they're giant and radically transformational, like what you're doing. I love that. So the way that you and I met, this is for the audience. You know how we met. So it was through a website that can connect podcast with guest, and this company has told me that I'm very odd. They did not like my. Not like, that's not the correct term. they questioned how I pitched my show. Cause I basically have always said, if you're interesting, I want to talk to you. That was it. They go, don't you want to? I go, no, it's fine. And so then they got very surprised at how many people responded to that. And then I am quite picky. I'm not, I mean, don't put this on your resume or anything, Becca, but I did not, probably only a third of the people that reached out to me did I return and reach out to because of the pitch. I do. I mean, I can talk to a lot of people about a lot of things, but I want to be able to talk to fewer people about the things I want to talk about. I want to talk about, because this story is very much going to help someone. There's going to be someone that is either dealing with alcohol themselves, a partner is dealing with alcohol, a family member, a friend, someone that they're acquainted to, a coworker is dealing with alcohol or another drug. And they're, even if it's one word, one sentence, anything that they've heard today that gives them the feeling, the empowerment to go out and seek change. I mean, I think that's pretty awesome. So, I mean, and that's
Before you move too far off, Ro, I want to
Yes.
bring you just for a moment back to your 3 goals.
Oh, yes,
because
yes, my goals.
I want you to notice that your first one wasn't about you, and I think that says a lot about you. And I want you to tell the listeners that those 3 goals had to be done in 30 seconds.
Oh, yes,
And
yes.
we do that so that your subconscious pops them out.
Yeah.
Because if I give you an hour to think about what are your top 3 life goals, well, you'll think about it for an hour, right? But in 30 seconds, Bobby popped out.
Yeah.
So I think that's really amazing.
Oh, well,
And
thank
the
you.
show,
And I like that the fact that you did that and you explained that at the end why you only gave us 30 seconds to do that.
Right.
So I thought that was very neat, and I think that's neat. And that's, once again, it's Becca's Bold Blurbs. You do it 5 times a week. And so, I mean, I think that's cool because it, and, you know, and I appreciate the words back about, because I mean, she's always first on my mind. She will dispute that because, like, before Mother's Day, she could be standing here in front of me and say, oh my gosh, this pen in my hand, if I had a pen like this, like for a holiday or something, I would feel like the luckiest woman on the face of the planet. And then she'd set it down. I'd be like, I don't know what she wants for Mother's Day. So I'm not, so she's always first, but it doesn't always appear that way to her. So I apologize. Thank you for the 28 years. I apologize for that. So, but that makes me feel good hearing about that. So happy Bobby. So that was good. So my show sustainability, is that still a good one to strive for?
absolutely.
Okay.
And you knew that it was important, and you say you're almost there. So I mean, it's just inevitable then.
Yeah, and the funny thing is that right now I'm keeping my kind of job that brings in what I would call an income at this point, so that I have the ability that if my soundboard that I have the ability to like, if I would have tried to turn on my soundboard today or my computer or my camera and it didn't work, then that throws me into a loop. And I haven't had a lot of backups. But I got to the point where I used to be working 5 days a week, but then I was doing so much more at this than I was at that, and I was just miserable. And as soon as I said, oh, I can only work 4 days a week, I was so much happier. I was so happy that I returned and said, I can only work 3 days a week.
3 days a week.
Yeah, and so, but I was so happy because I love doing this. I mean, I love talking, knowing that there are people out there like you, because my feeling on humanity is not always top notch. So, but knowing there's people out there like you that are sharing your story. Because there are a lot of people that I'm sure may have a somewhat similar to story as yours, that they didn't write a book. They're not on a podcast. They're not openly sharing that it's a personal story. And there may still be some shame associated with that, even though you should feel the pride and exuberance of not being shackled to that. And I had that, unshackled women. I was like, I had shackled written down but that's what it is. The unshackled woman that's what you're trying to eliminate that. So thank you for being here and sharing your story. I mean,
thanks for having me. Fun.
So what is your favorite thing to create or do? Is it to sit down and write and get your story out so that you can share that? Is it coming up with your Becca's bold blurbs? I know that's got to be hard coming up. I find social media very difficult. That's why I've tried to start doing video shorts so that I could at least get something out there, because I find that very, very difficult. So I applaud you for being able to do that 5 times a week, because I do not.
Well, I mean, that's a little podcast. I'm terrible at social media. I'm just, ah,
It's
but,
It's
yeah.
it's good though. I mean, that's difficult. It doesn't and I know how hard it is, and especially doing something if you're not with a guest. That's why it's so hard for me to do
Yeah.
solo shows. That my wife one time wanted to surprise me, and she was going to do a solo show. And 6
Okay.
minutes into the show, she goes, "Oh my God, how does he do this?" And I think the show was
Yeah.
8 minutes long. It can be very
Yeah.
difficult. So I applaud you
Well,
for doing that.
to answer your question, that is the thing that I'm enjoying the most right now.
Okay.
That and working with clients. But the blurbs, discovered quite by accident that I'm good at it, and they just come. So I do 5 days a week, but they're a blurb. So
Right.
they're never more than 20 minutes. Most of them are less than 15
Yeah.
minutes. Most of them right around 10, 11 minutes.
Yeah, I think the
And
one
it's
I
like
saw was 11 minutes. I think it was. Yeah.
yeah, like Bobby, right? You're
Yeah.
done.
Yeah.
But I've always got something to say, and it just flows, and, I'm really enjoying doing those. Yeah.
So how long
So
have you been doing those? So I didn't see the history on that. How long have you been doing those?
I started in March of 2023.
Okay. Okay.
So a while now, yeah. They haven't always been called Becca's Blurbs. I just recently changed the name, so I did a
Like
little
it?
pivot there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Becca's bold blurbs. I like the alliteration. It's great. So are you able to do, you said that they just come naturally to you. Are you doing them like daily, or do you have like, I have 20 in the can, so I'm good if I get writer's block or something for the next few days?
I do them, on mostly on the weekends.
Okay.
Saturday afternoon, it's blurb time, but I'll jot down what I wanna like, as ideas come, so I'll have a little pile of pieces of paper all over the place, so, "Oh, I wanna talk about that, wanna talk about that," so
Well, let me ask you then one final, I'm going to say final question. My wife has pointed out, and the audience is very well aware that I don't know what the phrase "one final question" actually means. That being said, my anticipation of being a final question is, you had mentioned that you're taking early retirement this year. Do you think Becca's bold blurbs do you want to expand that? Because it sounds like you're very excited about that. Do you see with additional time? Because that's what, during the podcast, I find that I'm much more, not that I wasn't prepared before, but it's not preparing to the very last second. So I was able to expand and do more. So now that you're going to have more time, will you expand Becca's bold blurbs and make them longer? Or is that just kind of an organic thing? They're as long as they are.
yeah, they're just as long as they are. That's not where I'm gonna put, my expansion energy. I'm expanding my coaching offer,
Okay.
and to help more people transform and overcome, if, functioning alcoholics. They're out there, right?
Yeah.
So, wanting to support them.
Yeah. So we have see, and this is where I feel weird. So there's a story that I could tell, and I just feel like I shouldn't necessarily tell someone else's story. And it's not necessarily bad, but it's not my story to tell. I mean, if we have you on again in the future, there's a very interesting story I may share with you after we stop recording audio on this. But there's a very interesting story related to alcohol, and it's
Okay.
it's strange. So we'll talk about that. So because I don't know what final question means, obviously, where can people, if someone is listening to this podcast and themselves, or maybe want to share this episode with someone and they hear it and they want to find more about you, I've mentioned BeccaJacobson.com. They can find your book. I saw it in both hardback and paperback on Amazon, I believe, which is, once again, Prostitute to Professor, a guide to radical transformation. But where can people find you if they want to learn more about you and what you have to offer people, and maybe if there's any interactive boot camps in the future that they may be able to get on an email list or something like that, where
Yeah.
else can they find information about you?
Okay. So to get on my email list, which I'm really witty. So if you want some witty emails in your inbox, then you want to get on my list, is beccajacobson.com/opt-in. And what I'm doing right now is I put together an 8-week program called Perspectives. And this ties to the fact that the life that we live is directly tied to how we view our life, our mindset, right? So reprogramming the subconscious. So it's about looking at the present, the future, the past, and mainly mindset. How we look at, like, the things that happened to us in the past. The past only holds power depending on how we look at it. So
Yeah.
I help people to retrain their yeah, anyway, it's all there. beccajacobson.com/opt-in right now. And I put there's a webinar in there, about a 15-minute webinar that I talk about it and talk about how to connect with me.
Okay. Because that would be great. Because I do know there's people need help, and I do think it's best. Here's another question. So people that are doing things, I know, I don't get it. My wife, she knows me well. So with sobriety and transformation, are there coaches that are offering like services that have not gone, not the same story as you, but like that haven't had an issue with alcohol? So,
Yes.
okay. So do you think that's a disservice? Do you think that you have a better insight? And I'll let you mull this over. And the
Yes.
reason I ask this is being a member of multiple high IQ societies, we've talked about in some of our message boards, therapy. Like, do people go to therapy? And one of the hardest things is because with very elevated high IQs, our minds don't typically think like a normal person. So if you don't think like a normal person, how can you have a normal person? I mean, it's hard to talk to them anyway, but then how can you so we talk about, do you have to have a therapist that has a high IQ to help you? So if you are having trouble with sobriety, do you need someone that has waged the same battle to be effective?
I don't need to mull it over. And I know people will argue
Okay.
with me on this and they can have their own opinion. But I think that if you don't know what it's like, you don't know what it's like.
Okay.
I can't tell you how many drugs. I told you I was in detox 11 times in my 20s. Every time I'd go in there, they'd give me a counselor. Not one of them had struggled with alcohol. They were just counselors and they meant well, but I'm like, you have no idea how this feels.
Yeah.
Been there, done that, and I know exactly how you feel.
Yeah.
It's hard for people who don't struggle with alcohol to understand why. Why would I go after 8 weeks in the treatment center, go get drunk again on my way home to see my husband? Why? That's what we do. I understand. So when you screw up, I get it. You don't have
Yeah.
to. Yeah. So
Yeah. And I think and it sounds like, I mean, I think having the love too. I mean, do you think
yes.
that made the change? You had mentioned how your previous husband treated your relationship with alcohol. I know this is another question. I'm so far past the last question stage here. But do you think that the love that your husband and his temperance, do you think that had an impact on your change as well, and that it's held this many
Absolutely.
years? Okay.
Yes, absolutely. And if anyone's listening out there who loves an alcoholic, I want you to know that loving them is more helpful than trying to change them, because you can't change them.
Yeah.
My husband's unconditional love for me made me want to change, made me want to quit. Whereas my first husband, who tried to violently get me to stop drinking, made me want to drink more. It just doesn't work.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah. What is it? Screaming at someone you need to calm down has never calmed anyone down. Yeah. So it's
Right.
kind of the
No.
same thing. But it's a good and I don't think it should be an argument. And for people that want, well, I can give the same. No, you can't. I mean, you literally can't. And it's just the process doesn't, and I can't explain it. There is nothing that I do to cultivate. I remember I worked part-time at a golf store, so I could get a discount. And I would go up there for my regular job, and I would hit balls on the hitting bay. And I went in one day, and they're all standing there staring at this wall. And I go, I go, what are you guys doing? They go, finally, the genius is here. Because one thing about being a genius, I am not shy about allowing people to know how much smarter I am than them. I go, what's going on? They go, well, we need to move. It was this rack that had hats on it. It was these glass cubes that had like hats to wear on the golf course. And there was probably, I don't know, 18 or 20 of these cubes sitting on these wood bases on carpet. And they go, we need to move it to the right. And I go, so what's the problem? They go, well, the glass is really heavy. If we don't want to take it apart, the glass slides on the wood, but the wood won't move. It's stuck into the carpet because it's been compressed down on the carpet. I was like, okay. I go, how long have you guys been working on this? They go, well, we've been standing here for an hour. And I just laughed at them. I was like, okay. I go, we got these wood things in the back, don't we? And they go, yeah. Go get them, bring them out, put them on the left. They go, we need to move it to the right. I go, okay. So they came out and did it. They moved it to the left. I go, now move those things that were on the ground. Move them because there's nothing on them. Move them to the right where you need them. They go, okay. I go, now slide that over. And they just looked at me. And the weird thing is sometimes they're pissed at you. I looked at that for an hour. But that's the thing. It's just, that's what I see. I see that to go right, I need to go left. And not everyone sees that. And that's why we as high-functioning, high IQ people, why we join society so that we can talk to other people that think the same along the same lines I do. And if someone has not gone through an experience, if someone's trying to tell me what it's like, sometimes I'll shut down. I'll go, we don't have the same experiences. And I think that if I needed to quit cannabis and needed to see someone about it, I sure as shit would. I will not talk to someone about cannabis if they've never tried it before in their life.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, I will just, no, you don't, there's nothing you can tell me that I'm not going to be so, okay. I know that got me worked up. I do get worked up because I do think you need the proper person to be able to give the proper advice, guidance, whatever to whoever. So I'm glad that there are people out there like you. And I'm upset for the college that you've spent the last few years at, but I am glad to see that you'll be moving to be able to help more people individually, because it's not just individuals that you're helping. Once again, it's their loved one, it's their family, it's their friends, it's their coworkers. Those are the people that really make an impact. So, yeah. Okay. And I will tell you, I'm not going to ask any more questions, because if I say even one more final question, it'll lead to 6 more. So, Becca Jacobson, thank you so much for being on the podcast. I really appreciate it.
For having me, Ro. It's been fun. It's been a lot of fun.
I've enjoyed talking to you. I know that we have a very robust audience. We also have a very robust international audience, which I would be interested, because sometimes their relationship as alcohol is much different than what we have here in the United States, where I'm based. So, and I don't know if you know anything or could speak anything, but that may be something I do research on in the future. So once again, we've had Becca Jacobson. She is a sobriety and transformation coach. She helps bring high-functioning alcoholics a no-nonsense solution. She is also author of the book Prostitute to Professor, A Guide to Radical Transformation, which can be found on Amazon. And also, if you go to beccajacobson.com/opt-in, because if you don't have a witty email coming to you almost daily, you can go opt in and get Becca's bold blurbs, and you can also find other information there. Becca, thank you so much for being on the podcast.
Thanks, Ro.
You're welcome.
You.
Everyone else, you guys have been listening to the Stone Genius podcast. My name's Ro. I'll talk to y'all later.